Okay, this is the set of sample questions for 06211. So we are going to have two main concepts. Our first concept is adding and subtracting decimal points. What you need to remember for that is you need to line up the decimal points to add. So, doesn't make a difference, and also to subtract. It doesn't make a difference if you have extra places. You just put in zeros, put your decimal point down right into the answer, and then you just add this just like 251 plus 420. So by putting the decimal point there first, you now made it a simple problem, 251 plus 420, and your decimal point's going to be right in there. So you're making it simple. The same for subtraction. Line up your decimal points, add any extra zeros that you might need, and then subtract like normal. For the multiplication, you do not have to line up decimal points. So if you have 2.2 times 0.22, you're going to multiply this just as if it's 22 times 22. You can ignore the decimal places. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then 2 times 2 is 4. Then we go over here to our next number. We put in a 0. So this 2 times 2 becomes 4, and then 2 times 2 is 4. So then we just add this up, just like it's a regular problem, 484. And then we multiply, then count. So we multiplied it, 22 times 22, got 484. Then we count. By count, we mean we look at the number of spaces after the decimal point. So we have 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal point there. So if we have 3 up here, we also are going to need 3 in our product. So 1, 2, 3. So our decimal point is going to go here. So 484 thousandths. Okay. Now, one of the concepts with multiplying is that if you're multiplying by 10, you just move the decimal point one place over, multiply by 100, move the decimal point over 2 places, multiply by 1,000, move it 3 places. Remember the number of places because it's the same as the number of zeros in the number that we're doing. So if we have 2.45 and we multiply by 10, we move it 1 place, and now we have 4.5, so 24.5. If we have 17.3861 and we multiply times 1,000, we move this over 3 places, and we now have 17386.1. Now, sometimes when we're multiplying, we might end up with a number like 4.7 times 100. So we're going to take our 4.7 and we have to move it 2 places over, and we just put in a 0 into that place, so we get 470. And if we just estimated this, 4 times 100 is around 400, which is what we have there. We also have rounding. When you round, such as 47.82, they're going to tell you what you're going to round to, and then you look at the number just to the right. If they told us to round to the nearest 10, there's a 4, the 7 next to it. We can think of this as a 47. 47 would round to 50, so that would become 50. If we had 47.82, they told us to round it to the nearest 10th. Then we'd look there. That's 82. That would round to 80. So everything on the to this side over here to the left stays the same. Anything after what we change becomes a 0. So these could all become zeros over here. Everything here is going to stay the same. Now you also have front-end estimation. With front-end estimation, if you have 47.86, if you were to round this, we look at the 4, and the 7 would make us change it to a 5. For front end estimation, all we look at, we don't round, we just write down the 4, everything else becomes zeros. So if we have 31.468, we look at the 3 front end estimation, write it down, everything else becomes zeros. So if we have 987.2, we just write down the 9, everything else becomes 0. So that's front end estimation.